Hello my sweet friends and welcome to Kinda Shabby. My name is Becky and I am so glad you stopped by. Now although it is August and almost 100 degrees here in Florida, I am officially kicking off my fall crafting season. I have planned out projects for nearly the next 2 months. And I went thrifting and picked up some supplies, and I also made a trip to Hobby Lobby, and I cannot wait to share these crafts with you. Well, there is lots of fun in store today, so let's get these projects started. For our first project, we're going to be using these little 4-inch terracotta pots that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and we're going to be using them to recreate these beautiful pots that I found on Pinterest. I'm going to start with a little bit of my clay here. So I'm going to knead it up, get it a little pliable, and then I'm going to roll it out because I want this to be a little bit on the thin side. And you can see I have rolled it pretty thinly. Now I'm going to tear it in half, and these are larger than I need. I'd rather have them too large than too small. And now I'm using the Iron Orchid Designs stamp in Kindest Regards, and I am going to imprint this design into the clay. But you could also use this cute little fancy font stamp that I picked up from Amazon. And I'm just going to place this on top of my clay and really press that down to imprint that beautiful script into my clay. And this is going to be just a gorgeous backdrop for us to work with. And you can see that gorgeous imprint left in the clay. That is fabulous. And now I'm going to place my medallions on my pots here. Then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife just to cut away some of the excess that I'm not going to need. And we're going to squish these pieces up and put them back in our bag because we're going to need some more clay in just a few minutes. And now I'm going to take my Titebond wood glue, roll back just a little bit, and the clay has left a little bit of dampness there so I can see where this went. So I can place that back on there. And then I can carefully roll over and glue down the other side. And I'm applying just a little bit of pressure, but I don't want to apply too much pressure because I don't want to distort my clay. I'm going to do the same thing to our other little pot here as well. Once again, I have thinly rolled out some clay here, and then we're going to be using these fall themed cookie cutters as embellishments to the outside of our little medallion here. Now I have had these for so long I don't even remember where I got them from, but I did look and see that Amazon has something similar to this, so I will link that set for you below. And I'm just going to be using the acorn and the little maple leaves. And I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to need, so I'll just cut out a few of each. And I'm just going to pull up the excess here and put it back in my clay bag. And now I want to create a little bit of dimension on our flat surface here. So I'm taking my X-Acto knife and I'm going to make like the veins of the leaves in our clay here. And then for our acorns, I'm going to make a half moon shape like that. And then I'm just going to make a little grid pattern here. That just adds interest to our little acorn. So I'm going to be doing the same thing to the rest of my little acorns and leaves here, and then we'll get these applied to our pots as well. So I went back and made these little slits in the clay just a little deeper. Hopefully I'll be able to get some wax in there when I do my final treatment, but we'll see. I think gluing them around the edges just like this I think that's going to look really, really cute. Paint some of that glue on the back and just carefully press that down. And as I'm pressing that down, the clay is cracking a little bit, and that's actually going to be really pretty on this particular project. I made those lines a little deeper on the little acorns too. Place that in and press it down. Let's add another leaf here. And I've got to make sure that I keep that off the bottom so this thing will stand up. I like that. Oh, I can't wait to get some paint and wax on these. And then I'm going to do this same design on this other side here and also on my other pot as well. So here are our little clay embellished pots so far. I just think that is going to turn out so pretty. So I have let my clay dry overnight, but you absolutely could paint it when it is still wet. Now I am taking the salmon coral from Folk Art and just a tiny little dab of the Waverly in truffle to create a color that is close to a terracotta. And I'm just going to start gently dabbing this on. And now that our paint is dry, I am using some Annie Sloan clear wax, and we are going to cover the entire piece in the clear wax. So then when we come over the top of it with our white wax, that's going to allow us to be able to move that wax a little more. This is a very porous material, and if I just went in with white wax, it would just grip in one spot and I couldn't move it around. And then I'm going to take a rag and just wipe off any of that excess clear wax. And now I'm going to come over the top of that with my Jolie finishing wax in white. And I'm just going to start right here and work that into all the little crevices of our little design here. I'm going to use a paper towel to wipe it back. Just so pretty and so rustic, and it just brings out all of those details. And then you just keep wiping back until you get the look that you want. So after wiping everything back, I feel like it still needs just a little something. So I'm going to be using the Folk Art in the color Copper just to accent our little embellishments on the side of our medallion. And I'm going to use a small, firm, bristled brush, tap off the excess, and then just come and add that copper to the outline of each of my little elements here. And then slightly down the middle as well. I'm going to lay it flat and just brush over the details on my little acorn here. I really like that. Well, I am really pleased with how my little pots turned out. So now let's go ahead and move on to our next project. Next up, we're going to be making some bowl fillers, and they are just a quick and easy way to add some fall color to your spaces. First, I took some natural cotton muslin and I tore it into 5 by 5 inch pieces, and I've made 3 of these because we're going to be making 3 of our little bowl fillers with our cute little fall fabrics here. And on these pieces, I'm going to be using the Iron Orchid Designs Crockery Stamp Collection, but you could also use some of these little stamps that I got off of Amazon, or even some cute little stencils would look nice as well. I'm also going to be using my archival ink in the color Coffee. That's just a nice little fall color. And I have my grid here. I'm going to line up my stamp in the middle of that, and I'm going to tap to apply my ink. And when I am applying ink to fabric, I always add a little extra than I would use if I were stamping on paper. look how cute that is. And that's going to be really cute on our little bowl fillers. Next, I've cut 2 pieces of 7 by 7 inch fabric for my little bowl fillers here. And I'm going to take this over to my machine and stitch this on, but you absolutely could glue your little labels onto your bowl fillers. So I did a zigzag stitch to put my label on my fabric, and then I just did a straight stitch, leaving an opening at the bottom so we can go ahead and put our stuffing in. I just think these are really cute so far. I like how they turned out. And again, this is something that you could glue together. You don't have to stitch if you prefer not to. I'm just taking my polyfill here and putting that into my little bowl filler. These are adorable. I'm making sure that I get into those corners really well, and I don't want it too full. And now that they're all stuffed, I'm going to head back over to the sewing machine and stitch these closed. These are so super cute. I just love how they turned out, and I can't wait to get them in my dough bowl. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next project. Next up, we have another Pinterest-inspired project using these beautiful crochet spools, and these belonged to my mom, and I keep them here in my craft room. And when I saw one of the little pins on Pinterest where they had turned these little spools into pumpkins, I thought, oh, that's going to be so cute. But I don't want it to be permanent because I want to keep displaying them in my craft room. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my paper punch, and this is a very large 3.5 inch circle here, and some cardstock, and I'm going to use that circle to put on top, so then I can glue all of my elements down to that, and then when I'm ready I can just take that off and there's no damage done to my mom's yarn spools. And I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape here on my little circles. So then that stays in place when we add our stem and all the other little embellishments that I want to put on there as well. And using an X-Acto knife, I'm going to make just a tiny little X in the middle. And then that's what I'm going to use to insert my sticks. Add a little bit of glue to the bottom there. And it'll stick to the little tabs that we made with our X. Now I'm going to use some moss to glue down to our little circle here, so that way it doesn't show. And now I'm going to take some of these leaves off of this little flower bush here. I am not sure if I got this from Dollar Tree or if I got it from Walmart, but I just really like the leaves on this. They have a nice little ombre color effect there, and they look really nice in my fall crafting. And then cut them apart, and that's going to be really cute glued on there. Next, I took more of my natural cotton muslin and I ripped it into 1 inch wide by 26 inch long strips, and I made 6 strips, and then I'm going to use 2 at a time to make a bow that we're going to put right on our little leaves right there. So I'm going to hold it in the middle, come over here and make loops on one side, bring up loops on the other side, and then you just fold those over and tie those together, and then adjust your loops. And I'm going to glue that to the middle of our leaves here. Next, I'm going to add a couple of these little pieces here from a bush that I got from Hobby Lobby. Then I'm taking a couple of pieces of the raffia. I'm going to tie a knot in the middle, then get the ends a little ratty here and just fray those edges. And then I'm going to tuck it behind the stem here and glue that on. And you can glue directly onto your knot. And then I think a button in the middle of my bow. And I really like that. And I'm going to do the same thing to my other two little pumpkins here to finish those off. And I just really like how that turned out. Well, now let's go ahead and move on to our last project. For our last project, I'm going to try something here, and I hope that it works. I'm going to be melting down these candles in my double boiler over the stove top. And then I'm going to be pouring that into these little vessels here. This is a vintage Avon little votive cup here. I love that. And then I've got a coffee mug with some beautiful detailing on there that I think looks really nice for fall. And it also has this little gold rim on here. And that just goes to my dishes that I have. And then this beautiful little gravy boat that has these beautiful details here. That is the brown transferware with the little deer in the center here. I also want to use a wood wick, but I don't have any wood wicks and I don't have any wick holders, so I'm going to improvise here. I'm going to use my giant craft sticks that I got off of Amazon. So first I'm going to cut the rounded edge off here. And then I have these little clips. I'm going to put that in there and lift these sides up. So I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. Well, so far so good with using these as my little wick holders. And now we're going to head into the kitchen and we're going to melt these candles. So the candle wax is starting to melt and I have it on low heat. And I did remove the label from the candle before I stuck it in there. And then I have my items set up over here, all ready to go. And I'm going to pour the wax from the double boiler into my measuring cup here, because it has a little spout on there, and I think that'll give me greater control when I do pour it into my little vessels here. I'm going to take my tweezers and pull the old wick out here. Turn the heat off. And I'm going to need both hands, so I'm not going to be able to show this on camera, but I'm going to just pour the melted wax from here into my little measuring cup. And now I'm going to just pour this in. And we will check on it again when all of the wax sets up. I am just so pleased with how my little candles turned out. I really like them. And I cannot wait to get them into my fall vignettes. They are so cute. While I was waiting for my candle wax to melt, I did take some coconut oil and I rubbed it on the wick. And you can see there's a little bit of a color difference because that coconut oil soaked into the wood. And now I'm going to trim the wicks. Yeah, that works better. Well, now all I need to do is give you a closer look at how cute all of this week's projects turned out.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been my pleasure to craft with you. Please subscribe for more kind of shabby but always chic crafty inspirations. And until next time, my sweet friends, be blessed.